Picture this: the sun-baked banks of the Orontes River in ancient Syria, 1274 BC. A ribbon of muddy water snaking through a land of olive groves and dusty hills, where the air hums with the promise of glory or graves. 20,000 Egyptian warriors, the flower of the Nile's might, ford the shallows under a sky like hammered bronze, their bronze-tipped spears glinting, war cries echoing like the gods' own thunder. At their helm charges Pharaoh Ramses II, 25 years old, a living god in chariot gold, his blue war crown tilted defiantly, muscles rippling under oiled skin as he urges his stallions forward. He's come to reclaim Kadesh, the jewel city of Asia, from the iron-fisted Hittites, dreaming of an empire that stretches from Africa's pyramids to the Euphrates cradle. But as his scouts melt into the haze, a low rumble builds, not the Nile's flood, but the earth-shaking thunder of 3,500 Hittite chariots exploding from hidden groves like demons unchained. Wheels scream, arrows blot the sun in a black storm, and Ramses' elite guard shatters like papyrus in a gale. Isolated, his chariot mired, the god-king faces a spear-tipped death, Hittite blades thirsting for divine blood, his army crumbling in the chaos. One thrust and Egypt's new kingdom unravels. Miracle escape, calculated lie, or the Hittites' fatal mercy. This is the Battle of Kadesh, history's first mega-clash of empires, a whirlwind of bronze and betrayal that birthed the world's oldest peace treaty and a pharaoh's undying myth. For 3,000 years, it's gripped scribes, soldiers, and skeptics in its vice. Welcome to Dark History Files, where we dust off the sands of forgotten fury to reveal the chariot scars beneath. Grip your reins, the gods are watching. Let's thunder into the storm. To untangle this Bronze Age apocalypse, we must first hitch our wagon to the wild chariot of the late 2nd millennium BC, a world where superpowers clashed like tectonic plates, reshaping maps with every spear thrust. Egypt, Africa's eternal phoenix, had risen from the ashes of the Hyksos invaders under the 18th dynasty, its pharaohs striding as Horus incarnate, building colossi that mocked mortality. Enter Ramses I, a mere general turned king, whose short reign birthed the 19th dynasty's juggernaut. His grandson, Ramses II, the Great, the Builder, ascended in 1279 BC at 19, a whirlwind of ambition wrapped in divine pretense. Tall as a cedar, red-haired like set in fury, Ramses flooded the Nile Valley with monuments. Abu Simbel's rock-hewn colossi staring eternal across Nubia, Ramesseum temples etched with his deeds. But glory demanded conquest. Egypt's Asian holdings, vassal cities like Kadesh, a fortress oasis straddling trade routes heavy with lapis from Afghanistan and cedar from Lebanon, had slipped to the Hittites, Asia Minor's anvil-forged empire. The Hittites weren't steppe nomads scraping by. They were Iron Age innovators, an Indo-European storm that swept Anatolia around 1600 BC, toppling Bronze Age kingdoms like autumn wheat. From their cliff-carved capital Hattusa, now Boghazkale in modern Turkey, they forged an empire of thunder, vast granaries feeding armies, thunder god Tarhunt as patron deity, and chariots upgraded with three-man crews, driver, shield-bearer, archer, pulled by sleek Hittite horses bred for speed and slaughter. By 1274 BC, under Muwatalli II, a calculating crown prince turned king, they gripped Syria like a vice, their iron swords a tech edge over Egypt's bronze, carving vassals from the Euphrates to the Taurus Mountains. Tension simmered for years, border skirmishes over Amaru and Yupi, spies whispering in shadowed bazaars, omens like faltering Nile floods signaling Set's wrath. Ramses, fresh from Nubian triumphs, saw Kadesh as his manifest destiny, a gateway to reclaim lost tribute, humble the Asiatic dogs, and etch his name deeper than any obelisk. Muwatalli, meanwhile, massed his forces in secret, two desert spies dressed as bedraggled Amorites feeding Ramses honeyed lies. The Hittite king cowers north, beyond Aleppo. Kadesh is yours undefended. The pharaoh swallowed the bait, his heart swelling with hubris. Little did he know, an ambush of biblical scale awaited, 5,000 chariots total, Hittite fury against Egyptian steel, in the largest vehicular bloodbath ever etched in stone. Ramses launched from Pi-Ramesses, his glittering delta capital, in his fifth regnal year, a host of 20,000, 4 divisions of 5,000 each, Amen, Re, Ta, Set, plus auxiliaries from Shurden mercenaries, tattooed sea peoples with horned helmets and Libyan spearmen. The march spanned months, snaking through Canaan's parched trails, rations straining under the weight of ambition. Ramses rode ahead with Amen's division, his royal chariot, a lightweight beauty of electrum and leather, pulled by 2 spotted Libyan stallions, flanked by fan-bearers and scribes scribbling every boast. "The vile Hittites tremble," he proclaimed to the ranks, libations poured to Montu the war falcon. But cracks showed. Supplies lagged, scouts vanished into the dunes, and whispers of unease rippled like heat haze. By May, they reached the Orontes Bend near Kadesh, a strategic stranglehold of walls and wells, its garrison flying Hittite banners in mocking salute. The spies, bound and confessing under the lash, doubled down. Muatali flees east, strike now, Ramses bid, ordering the Ray division across the river's ford, a narrow defile flanked by wooded hills. The pharaoh pressed on with Amen's van, encamping south of the city, trumpets blaring victory hymns. Twilight fell, sentries lit watchfires. But in the shadowed groves north, Muatali's trap coiled, 3,500 chariots hidden like vipers, plus 10,000 infantry and 1,000 archers, their king watching from a hilltop dais, bronze greaves gleaming. Dawn of the 5th day broke with deceptive calm, the Orontes murmuring like a serpent's hiss. Ramses, anointed in sacred oils, mounted his chariot for counsel, advisors urging caution, but his blood sang for battle. "Today we crush the northern dogs," he roared, sacrificing a white bull to Amun-Ra as the division stirred. Ray crossed first, vulnerable in the ford's churn. Amun followed, Ta and Set trailing miles behind in supply-choked columns. Then the world cracked open. Hittite horns, curved rams' blasts, shredded the air. From the woods north of Kadesh erupted the storm. 3,500 chariots in a tidal wave, 3-man teams unleashing composite bows' fury, arrows arcing in lethal parabolas. Wheels of woven willow and bronze hubs screamed over the plain, horses foaming in harness, Hittite nobles in scale cuirasses howling war cries to Tarhun. The Ray division, Ramses' vanguard, crumpled like harvest chaff. Chariots overturned in the river, men drowning under waves of feathered death, screams mingling with splintering wood. Hundreds fell in minutes, the ford a slurry of blood and bronze. Panic rippled south. Hittites wheeled through the chaos, lances skewering the fallen, their iron edges biting deeper than Egyptian bronze. Ramses, 2 miles south in camp, heard the doom trumpets, a bronze clarion of disaster. "Treachery," he bellowed, vaulting into his chariot, a mere 20 guards at his heels. The royal stallions bolted north, whipping through acacia thickets, the pharaoh's falcon standard snapping like a god's lash. But the trap snapped shut. Hittite chariots, 500 elites under Muatali's brother Hattusili, barreled from the south, cutting off retreat, encircling the pharaoh in a kill corridor of dust and death. Ramses' tiny band charged like furies, his bow loosing shafts that felled drivers, his sword hacking shield bearers, but numbers crushed them. Chariots hemmed him in, arrows glancing off his lion-skin cloak, a Hittite lance grazing his cheek in a hot sting. Isolated horses lathered, the god-king fought alone as his guard melted, stabbing a noble through the eye, wheeling to dodge a scythed wheel hub. "Amen, where is your wind?" he gasped, the world a blur of bronze limbs and foaming muzzles. Legend claims divine fury, a miracle gale from the south, scattering Hittite dust clouds, blinding their archers, Ramses rallying with cries of "the gods fight for us." His depleted Amun division surged forward, smashing the ring in a desperate counter, Sheridan axes cleaving Hittite axles, Nubian archers returning fire in crimson volleys. The Hittites recoiled, chariots tangling in the melee, but not before Ray lay in tatters. Thousands drowned or trampled, the river red as the setting sun. Day dissolved into slaughter's frenzy. Muwatalli from his ridge perch unleashed waves, chariots harrying Ta and Set as they crossed, infantry clashing in the plain's bloody churn. Egyptian chariots, lighter two-man designs, darted like hornets, bows twanging death, but Hittite numbers and iron prevailed in the crush. By noon, Kadesh's walls rang with cheers as Hittite looters stripped the dead. Ramses, bloodied but unbowed, reformed on a hillock, his voice a thunderclap. For Ra and the two lands. A final push, reinforced by late-arriving Set division, drove the Hittites back to their groves, chariots withdrawing in disciplined fury rather than rout. Dusk fell on a stalemate. Egypt held the field, but at what cost? 5,000 Egyptian dead by Hittite tallies, thousands more scattered. Hittite losses lighter, their king claiming the pharaoh's near corpse as trophy. Ramses limped south to camp, his cheek scar a badge of survival, scribes already etching the victory on leather rolls. Kadesh's echoes thunder through millennia, a riddle carved in clashing annals that no oracle has solved. Ramses' version, blasted across Luxor obelisks and Karnak walls in hieroglyphic bombast, paints divine triumph. I was like Montu in his season. The vile Hittites lay like crocodiles in the mud. Amun himself swooped in falcon form, winds parting the foe. But Hittite clay tablets from Hadusa, unearthed in 1906 and decoded since, sneer back. Muwatalli routed the Egyptians, captured Ramses' camp, forced a panicked retreat. The pharaoh fled like a jackal. Who won? A bloody draw, most scholars agree, with Egypt clinging to Kadesh's shadow but losing Asia's grip. Recent digs add grit. In 2025, Syrian excavations near Tel Neb-I-Mend, ancient Kadesh, uncovered a Hittite chariot axle fragment, iron-rimmed, dated to the late Bronze Age, hinting at their tech edge, wheels that outlasted Egyptian willow in the melee. Climate proxies from the Orontes reveal a freak sandstorm that day, perhaps the divine wind or mere bad luck for the ambushers. Tech whispers, Hittite scythe chariots, blades on hubs to reap infantry, debatable from reliefs, but if real, they turn the ford to a meat grinder. And the shadows. Spies' betrayal was no fluke. 2 Amorite double agents executed post-battle, their confessions a Hittite plan. Muwatalli's mercy. He held Ramses' sons hostage briefly, extracting tribute before release. The aftermath. 16 years of skirmishes ended in 1258 BC with the first peace treaty. Silver tablets swearing eternal brotherhood, buried in Hadusa's vaults, now in Istanbul's museum. Ramses lived to 90, siring 100-plus kids. Muwatalli died young, his empire fraying like old papyrus. What if the Hittites pressed the kill? A Nile choked with iron, Anatolia's thunder rolling to Thebes, Bronze Age's endgame rewritten. Instead, Kadesh forged fragile peace, a testament to hubris' bite and mercy's edge. The chariot lords remind us, gods gamble, wheels turn, and victory's veil hides many faces. Ramses lie for the ages, or did Amun truly ride the wind? Charge your theory into the comments. I devour them like a pharaoh's feast. If this bronze storm gripped your chariot, smash like, share with a battle brother, and subscribe to Dark History Files for more clashes from the cradle. Africa's floods to Asia's iron, America's whispers. Bell on, the next charge awaits. Thanks for storming the sands with me. Stay unbreakable, Lord Chaser. The gods approve.